Welcome back. Justin Tucker here. In this video tutorial we are going to cover creating categories. So kind of the logical approach we're taking here to conceptually building with Drupal. Step two is, I would argue, is to identify categories. And Drupal calls this taxonomy. Okay, and just like where we found content types in the last video, which is important because we need to identify what forms that our website needs to collect information. We have got under structure this idea called taxonomy. Now, I wish someone would have told me early on, when you see the word taxonomy, think categorization. When you see the term vocabulary, think category. And then when you see the word like terms or add terms or list terms, think subcategory. So this could just as easily say add a category, edit category, list subcategories, add subcategories. So don't let the word terms and the word vocabulary get in the way. That's conceptually all it means. And in our site that we're doing, we are, again, this is kind of a fictitious site. We want it to be a place where companies can post jobs available for developers, a place where developers can find employment by posting jobs wanted ads, and a place for prospective clients and customers to post their projects to get bids. And this is going to be a place where those developers and development companies can bid on those projects. Again, I don't know the feasibility of this. I'm not really trying to build a business here. I'm just trying to invent a scenario that's going to give us opportunities to dive into some of the richer features of Drupal in terms of user groups, different content types, permissions, access control, views, stuff like that. But the step two here, going in a very logical way, step one was identify needed content types. Step two is identify categories, and here we are. And again, we go to structure and then taxonomy. So I may be coming back and adding more of these, but I've identified a few of them already. And let's see, we're going to call this categories. All right. And the first category I think I'll need is it's going to go on the form for, well, either jobs wanted or jobs available. Okay. I'm going to call that uh, platform. And I'm going to give that an option of WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. Obviously, this could be a very long list. We're just going to focus on these three. Years of experience, and you'll see where these are going to come into play here in a moment. I'm going to have 1 through 10, and then have 10 plus as my options. I am going to have job type, meaning is this a temporary job? Is this a part-time job? Obviously, this is stuff for the jobs available ad, full-time. Maybe I'll have a question called remote, meaning is, can I work remotely? And in this case, we have yes or no. And let's see, we'll, for the customers who create project submissions to receive bids on, we'll give a category for them or a field to select from called project type. And we'll give that a type of design, site building, or custom. Okay? So what I've basically done here, and I know I kind of ran through that, goodness, is we're going to go into our taxonomy area here and basically recreate what I just identified here. And I've kind of written this down already, so it might seem kind of confusing, but essentially what's going to happen is these are going to be fields that exist in the content types I've already created. But I want these fields to be special, meaning I could make a field that just simply has these as selection lists to choose from. But I don't want to do that in this case. I want to make use of taxonomy so that I can make them linkable and the website more dynamic. So if I use taxonomy terms, we can do fun things like um, if the field selection was Drupal, for example, that's going to show up as a link on the page. So when clicked, it's going to bring up a new page of all other pages that have that selected. So it kind of gives you a built-in way to search and use the site. So let's get those added in there. So platform, that is the first vocabulary that I will add, and you'll notice this is very straightforward. You can give a description if you want, and then there we go. There's platform. Edit vocabulary, list terms, or add terms. You can add terms from the list terms page. You'll notice I have no terms yet, so I'm going to hit add term. And the three I think I identified was WordPress. I'm going to save that. And I know this might feel mundane. I know you may feel like we haven't really gotten into the building of Drupal yet, but we actually have. And doing these steps first in this way, I think, is going to really set you up to a much easier path to follow. Okay, so I'm going to click list, and here we go. I'm under platform, and I have these three options, and you can drag and drop them around, or reset them to alphabetical, which is what they want to do by default. And I'm going to save that. I can go back to structure and go to taxonomy, or I can use the breadcrumbs here, and I want to add a new vocabulary. This one is going to be called years of experience. And I'm going to add terms. And I'm going to add, let's see, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. I won't go all the way to 10. And then we'll say 5+ years. And if I click list or years of experience in the breadcrumb, I can get back to seeing my options for this category. So again, this is called a vocabulary, and these are called its terms. That's in essence, this is the category, and here are the subcategories. Notice you can also have categories within categories. Okay? Drupal totally allows you to do that if you want, and you can, kind of drag and drop these in any structure you want. So it's very, very convenient. Go back to taxonomy and add the rest. The other one I need is job type. Which I guess could mean a lot of things. In this case, it's going to mean, is it part-time? Is it temporary? What is it? So we will say part-time. Full-time. And temporary. And notice you can give a description for this term. I think it's kind of obvious in this case, but clearly there are use cases and examples that you would need high levels of categorization in your site, and this may become very important. And you can make use of this later through views and other things like that. What I was just doing, dropping around the little cross on the left-hand side, the drag and drop feature, you'll notice that you can also manually do that under the Relations drop-down tab here as to where you want to put it. Typically, I like to just add them all and then go to the list and rearrange them how I want to. Okay, added that category. I'm going to add another category. It's a question. It's going to be, remote question mark. Meaning, will I work remotely? And the answers will be yes, or the answer will be no. And then the final one that we will do right now is project type. I'm going to add terms, and we will, maybe the customer is uploading a project where they need a template built, so the project type would be a design project. Or maybe the customer is uploading a site where they need a site built, So we'll add site building, and then the final one we will call custom coding, meaning they need some custom PHP script wrote or some custom module developed. Notice how the project may include all of these things, and we're going to cover that later on as to how we can give the option for the user to capture multiple, all of them, or none of them. And so there we go. So I'm going to go back to taxonomy, and just like content types, we're making stuff. Here in taxonomy, I've just made a series of categories and a series of subcategories under each. Now again, job type, project type, remote, years of experience. I kind of grab these off the top of my head. I can't really stress enough, or it can't be overstated enough, how important it is to get this uh, um, get this part down, to understand what you're going to need in terms of categories on your website. And I wanted to give you a few examples here of what those categories could be. And there is other ways of achieving this. There is other ways of producing a drop-down list, but I'm a big fan of using taxonomy. I think it gives you a lot more options in the long run, and it gives your website a little bit more power. But um, that's the idea. Even like on this remote one here, even if it's just yes or no, identify what are those answers that may be just yes or no. The other thing that or another reason why it's important to identify these is because they're going to come. There's going to come a time where we want to produce what's called views through the views module, or different layouts of our data, and we're going to want to offer ways to filter that information in useful ways. And taxonomy can give us really great ways of doing that. So that's why it's important to understand which categories you're going to need and which subcategories under each one you're going to need. And keep in mind, you can have categories within categories within categories. So you can have certain or different depths and different layers of categories. So, like I said, I might be coming back and adding more as I build this site. I'm not sure. These are just kind of off the top of my head, a few that I think I know I'm going to need. And it's important to understand. In the future, it's no big deal if I find another job type to just hit add term and add it. Well, let's just do that. Let's say I had a couple posts and I realized I needed the field called other for whatever reason. So very easy to do, and we'll just save that. So that's going to conclude this video. Again, it was covering what taxonomy is, and in my humble opinion, I think you want to address it early on in your building process, because again, like content types, there just seems to be a lot of natural things that follow and cascade from it, and you're going to want to have this in place. Otherwise, it's not a problem if you don't. You're just going to find yourself running back here to do it. And or you could kind of run the risk of building your site and then at a later stage realize, darn, I wish I would have done this, because I would have a lot better organization of my content administratively, and a lot better organization to deliver this content to my users, and so that they could make better use of it. So little things like this early on can have a big impact in the future, and it's important to understand what you need and to get it laid out. And that's kind of why I have this as step number 2, identify your categories. And that's going to be done through taxonomy. So once we've done that, the next step that we're going to do is actually now adding fields to the content types. Step 3, add fields to content types. The reason I say for this to be step 2 is because adding in these categories to the content types is a field. And so obviously you want to have those ready to go, so when you add your fields, you can add in these categories and not have to go back and create them real quick, then to be able to add them in. Although you can certainly do that if there's something you forgot, or as you're building realize there's going to be extras that you need. Okay, so that's going to wrap this up. If you can, subscribe. I love comments, and as always, if you have any questions, please know to ask. I will see you on the next video. Bye.